Did you know that infants are ready to learn sign language? 2-year-olds are ready to learn the basics of science, and 3-year-olds are ready to learn coding? Your child is ready to learn, and at Primrose Schools, teachers make the most of this time by creating a joyful, purposeful learning experience unlike any other.
For instance, have you heard of the Primrose Friends? In every Primrose school classroom, teachers use these 12 lovable puppets to make character development joyful, meaningful, and memorable. From exploring generosity with Benjamin the Bear to practicing honesty with Peanut the Pony, every friend plays a special part in helping children learn important values while having plenty of fun along the way. We could all use some friends like that. You can learn more at primroseschools.com. Now enrolling infants through children age 5. That's primroseschools.com for more information. Elizabeth, we are always talking about the small things that we can do that make a big impact, not just in our own lives, but for the planet as well. And that's why I'm such a big fan of our food recycler, Mill. Mill is the one easy thing that makes reducing food waste effortless. Mill is the cleanest, easiest way to prevent food waste at home. It makes keeping food out of the trash as easy as dropping it in. Toss in your scraps, forget about it. No smell, no mess, no effort. You can keep filling it and filling it for weeks. You might even skip a garbage day or two. Mill turns your food scraps into nutrient-rich grounds you can use in your garden or compost, or Mill can pick them up and get them to a local farm.
And an added bonus, wasting less food feels really good. All the guilt and stress I used to feel when cleaning out my fridge is gone. Mill makes it easy and even joyful to reduce food waste, taking a global problem and turning it into a simple daily step at home.
But you have to live with Mill to really get it. Good thing you can try it risk-free and get $75 off with code HAPPY. Visit mill.com/happy. That's mill.com/happy.
Lemonada.
Hello and welcome to Happier, a podcast that gives you ideas and strategies for building happier habits into your daily life. This week, we'll talk about why you might want to make space to put things away, and we hear from listeners about the one big thing that they conquered. I'm Gretchen Rubin, a writer who studies happiness, good habits, human nature, secrets of adulthood. I am in Carpinteria, California, sitting in a hotel room. And joining me today from Los Angeles is my sister, Elizabeth Kraft.
That's me, Elizabeth Kraft, a TV writer and producer living in LA. And Gretch, I think you drove right past my house on the freeway, but I'm not going to get to see you.
I know, it was so strange. I knew exactly where I was. I was a few minutes away, but alas, we were 2 ships passing in the night, but I'll see you soon.
Yes.
But before we jump in, we are going to do a gift guide in a future episode with lots of gift suggestions. So send us your ideas, your finds, what is on your wish list. We are going to put together a big list. That is always so fun. And if you are struggling to come up with a perfect gift, don't forget that I have my gift quiz, which will tell you your recipient's gift appreciation profile, whether that person is an easy to please, a tried and true, an enthusiast, or a connoisseur. And once you figure that out, it's a lot easier to figure out what kind of thing will make them happy. Go to gretchenrubin.com/quiz and take that quiz. It's super fun. And we got some updates from listeners.
Yes, Anju said, in one of the episodes of More Happier, Elizabeth speaks about a cure of migraines for her husband, Adam. Can I know more details of this, please? As a person suffering from migraines over a decade, I really need the answer. Would be happier to know the details. So what she's talking about is medicine called Ajovy, which is spelled Ajovy. It's an injection that my husband Adam takes once a month at home. He can do it to himself to prevent migraines. And it has been life-changing because he suffered from terrible migraines for decades. I mean, many, many, many migraines every month. And now he's down to, I would say, fewer than 2 a month. So this medicine has been incredible for him, and he has tried everything. He has tried all the medicines. He's tried the Botox. He's tried it all, and this has really worked for him.
Oh, it's such a miracle. It's just so wonderful that at last he's got that under control. It's just extraordinary.
Yes. Great question.
Billy wrote, I just listened to the discussion you and Liz had about creating love lists, and it reminded me of a similar tool I've created for myself, which may be of use to other listeners. Years ago, I created a much less artfully named spreadsheet of friends. Maintaining a list of local friends helped me to remember to reach out to people, especially if I hadn't seen them in a while. It has also helped me to fight feelings of loneliness that can creep up when I face a weekend without any plans. I can always pull up my list and be reminded of someone to reach out to. In the same spreadsheet, I also maintain a list of out-of-town friends who I can consider visiting, and I also have a list of acquaintances, local folks who, with a bit more effort and planning, could become friends. Maintaining this list has made me feel a bit weird. Shouldn't friendship and caring come naturally without needing a spreadsheet? But adding this structure has made me a better friend to everyone involved, and in the end, happier. Well, I think this is a great point, which is that sometimes people think that friendship should be easy and spontaneous, but it takes time and energy and effort. And with a little bit of organization and planning, it can make it a lot easier to keep those bonds strong. So love the spreadsheet of friends.
Yes.
I think that's hilarious.
Way to go, Billy.
Yes.
And then Jessica said, I absolutely love your show, and I want to thank you for throwing down the 25 and 25 reading challenge this year. I've always loved to read, but in recent years, I haven't made it a priority. This challenge has completely renewed my joy and passion for reading. Along the way, I've discovered that I'm a suspense/thriller/mystery nut, rekindled my enjoyment of short story collections, and even realized that autobiographies aren't so bad after all. You'll be happy to hear that I've already exceeded my original 25 book goal, currently at 37, and now I'm on a mission to see how many more I can squeeze in before 11:59 p.m. on December 31st. I often add books you both mentioned to my to-be-read list, and I truly appreciate the insights you share about books and about making life happier.
Oh, that's so great. More reading for all. And wow, she's at 37 of a 25 book goal. She's really exceeding her goal. That is very impressive.
Crushing it.
Yes. So this week, our try this at home suggestion is to make space to put something away. And I was thinking about this because of something that came up in my life. So I've talked many times about how I have these file boxes where I have a file for each grade of Eliza and Eleanor's school year. So there's the kindergarten file, the first grade file, and in it I put things like a copy of their report card, our Valentine's card for the year, their birthday invitation, some very characteristic work, their school photo, things like that. And I love this because what do you do with the school photo? Well, I know exactly where to put it, and so it's very satisfying. But lately I had just had the stack growing and I wasn't filing those things away. And I finally did what I always tell myself to do, which is to stop and identify the problem. What is the problem? Why am I not filing this stuff? It's because the boxes are so full. It was really, really hard to fit anything more into it. And so I thought, well, what I need is more room. These file boxes are full. So now I got another file box, and that's just for college years. So I'm going to take stuff out of Eliza's so that there's more room in that box. And so it'll be Eliza and Eleanor's college years. So now I'm going to be able to go through and file all that stuff much more quickly. And same thing, years ago, I realized that the reason that nobody was hanging up coats was that we had too many coats crammed into our coat closet. And it just took so much strength to jam a coat in there that everybody just left their coats draped all over the furniture. And so if you make space to put something away, you're much more likely to put it away.
Well, I can think of a couple of ways to do this, Gretchen. There's clearing out space. So that's like taking coats out of the coat closet to make space. Or you can actually create a new space.
Right.
With shelves or a cabinet or something like that.
Well, with the file box, I literally created a new space to hold something. Well, I think that's really helpful. You can think about it in both ways. Now, I do think, and I wrote outer order, inner calm. I'm a big person for clearing out and getting rid of clutter. I think you're always better off starting by saying, can I clear out a space? Do I have things that are taking up space that I don't need, that I don't use, that I don't love? Is there stuff here that I want to donate? Is there stuff that I want to toss or recycle? And it's clear that if a space is really crowded, it is a good cue to go through it and make sense of whether you really want to keep everything that's there, especially things like coat closets, clothes closets, medicine cabinets, places that tend to get jammed up. And another thing that can happen when the space is crowded is you may actually keep buying more and more of something that you already have because you don't realize that you have it. You don't know that you already have 15 rolls of paper towels, or you don't know that you have 5 jars of pickles, or you don't know that you have 6 hammers, because since everything is so crowded and jammed together, you just think, okay, well, I'll just buy more because I don't realize what I already have. And so clearing out that space can be really helpful. And I think you also want to be really careful of dump places like an attic or a basement, because I think a lot of us have a place where rather than do the hard work of figuring out what to do with something, like, do we want to keep it? How would we donate it? If we wanted to donate it, do I know somebody who would want this thing? Should I email them? We just stick it in the basement or stick it in the attic or the garage or wherever. And then that stuff just grows and grows.
But there are times when creating a new space is so satisfying. Like in our dining room, we got this cabinet that has storage and looks nice as well. And now I know that's where the placemats are. That's where candles are. That's where napkins are. That's where napkin rings are. And so I always know where to find that stuff. Whereas before, I feel like I was kind of stashing it wherever I could. So if it makes sense, it's really nice to have that new space.
And that's exactly where it belongs. Like, it makes perfect sense. Before, you didn't really have a logical place that it went.
Yeah.
These are the things that we'll use in the dining room. Therefore, they are kept in the dining room. But I remember also, Lisa, didn't you do something with your garage? Do I remember that?
Yes. So in our garage, I have to give Adam 100% of the credit for this. He put up big, solid metal shelves on one whole side of the garage that we then can put those big plastic bins on and labeled like stuff for Christmas, stuff for Halloween, Jack's baby clothes we want to save. That was life-changing because that created a whole new space that wasn't being used because it was just a side of the garage. Of course, as happens over the years, that space is now cluttered and overgrown. We were just talking about that. We have to go back in and redo that.
I would be very happy to help you with that. That's exactly my favorite kind of thing. So this is the thing where it's a little bit tricky, because on the one hand, it can be really helpful to get that cabinet or to put in those racks. On the other hand, I do think that a lot of us should beware of buying furniture or organizing gizmos that allow us to cram in more stuff. Because sometimes you just accumulate things and hang on to things that in the end, you really would be better off donating or tossing or whatever. So you have to really gaze within and be honest with yourself about, is this something that you really, really want to keep? Like Christmas decorations. It's like, we want the Christmas decorations, but we have to store them someplace because they're not being used most of the time. So that's very easy to know that you want to keep it. But then there's other stuff where you're just like, I can't figure out what to do with it. I'll just stick it back there and deal with it later. And then 15 years go by.
For sure.
But again, I have to mention, if this is something that is interesting, check out my book, Outer Order, Inner Calm, because I have so many hacks about clutter clearing in there. It was so much fun to write because I find that kind of thing so fun to think about.
Yeah. Not everybody enjoys it the way you do, but it is always valuable. We appreciate you.
That's true. Well, let us know if you do try this at home and how making space to put things away works for you. What have you done to make space? Let us know on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook. Drop us an email at podcast@gretchenrubin.com. Or as always, you can go to the show notes. It's happiercast.com/558 for everything related to this episode.
Coming up, we've got a happiness hack that makes life a little bit easier. But first, this break.
So we know a lot of you listening out there work in healthcare and wellness. So first of all, because you probably do not hear this enough, thank you. Second of all, if you don't already know about figs, It's time. Figs make super thoughtfully designed scrubs in high quality, innovative materials that are antimicrobial and wrinkle resistant, but still super soft and breathable. They're designed with the details of the job in mind, whether it's a scrub top with a special stethoscope pocket or outerwear that's both lightweight and super warm, because the office or hospital AC is never not on full blast.
They're also so cute. Figs come in a huge range of flattering styles made for every body type and elevated classic colors like black, gray, and blue. But there's also always some fun new seasonal color drop happening. Figs are the scrubs, in other words. And if you're a healthcare professional or if you know someone who is, right now, when you use the code FIGSRX, you get 15% off your first purchase. Just go to wearfigs.com and enter FIGSRX at checkout. These days, life is busy, schedules are packed, and taking care of yourself can feel like a full-time job. But who has the time? Hers is here to support you on your weight loss journey. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to weight loss treatment plans for every budget. They connect you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine the best treatment option for you.
Whether you want to lose weight, grow thicker, fuller hair, or find relief for anxiety, Hers has you covered. Visit forhers.com/happier to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/happier. forhers.com/happier. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded drug products are not approved or evaluated for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased. Now, Elizabeth, you know that I am not a cook. Just the thought of cooking stresses me out. But fortunately, there is a solution. Sous vide is a smart countertop oven and a flexible meal delivery service. I have tried it, and it only takes a few minutes to get a meal ready. And the coolest part is that the sous vide kitchen robot has built-in refrigeration, so I can set up dinner in the morning, and sous vide will keep it cold until it's time to cook. I don't even have to be home in time to start it. And one thing that I love is that they have keto-friendly category. So there are so many options of keto-friendly, which is what Jamie and I like. And chef-crafted meals are delivered right to our door.
The sous vide kitchen robot fits on the counter and has 15 cook modes, including air fry and slow cook. You can use it to cook any recipe. Go to sousvide.com/happier to get 16 free meals when you order. That's SUVIE.com/happier. Save time, eat better with sous vide. All right, Gretch, we're back with this week's happiness hack.
Well, and I think that this is sort of companion to Make Space to Put Things Away, because this is kind of a different take, which is sometimes it's really valuable to get duplicates. Sometimes it really, if they are mindfully chosen, it can be very handy and make life much easier if you get a duplicate of something that you regularly use that maybe you arguably don't need absolutely as a necessity to get a duplicate, but it's going to make your life a lot easier. And Elizabeth, you are the inspiration for this because you had a major insight into a duplicate that is going to be super useful and make the life of both of us easier.
Yes. So you and I have been doing the podcast for 10 years. And during that entire 10 years, we have both recorded many episodes in Kansas City because we go to Kansas City and we'll need to record when we're there. And this whole time, you and I have both been carrying microphones back and forth to Kansas City. And I finally said, you know what? I'm going to order a good microphone and send it to Kansas City and just keep it there.
Yes.
So we now have a great Yeti microphone in the guest room in Kansas City that we can use anytime we want to, and we don't have to carry it back and forth.
And then I went ahead and got a ring light too, because I'm like, we are always recording from our parents' apartment. Why did this take us so long, Elizabeth? This should have been something we did year 2.
I think it's because we're both underbuyers. So we don't think about buying. Like, I didn't even occur to me to get a ring light. I brought a ring light with me, took it back. Didn't occur to me to leave a ring light there.
Maybe this is something special for underbuyers. Pay attention. Are there places you can get duplicates? I mean, a place where I finally figured this out is with chargers, phone chargers. Do you need a phone charger? Yes, you do. I remember a friend saying like she was carrying the one from home to work every day. And then finally she thought, wow, I could have one at home and one at work. And it's like, you can have one that's in the kitchen and that just stays in the kitchen all the time. It's just funny how sometimes we resist these. And then I had this other thing that I do, and maybe this is also related to an underbuyer, or maybe it's related to always wanting to create outer order. But I had this habit of, if I had many examples of the same thing, if I already had duplicates, I would store them together. So for instance, I would keep all the scissors together in a drawer. And then finally I realized, well, actually, it's much better to have scissors in a lot of different places so that if I'm in a lot of different places, I can just easily get to a scissors without schlepping across the apartment to the collection of scissors. And so then I went around and mindfully put scissors in all the places that I thought that they would be useful. And it turns out that's a very handy thing to do. I did the same thing with Scotch tape.
Yeah, funny you mentioned this because our mother just recently put some scissors in the library. All of the rest of her scissors, I think, are in the kitchen. And she said since she put scissors in the library, she's used them like 20 times.
Yeah.
So she was thrilled with her scissors in the library.
And I remember, I think we got a suggestion from a listener, maybe this was your suggestion a while back, Elizabeth, to put a trash can in your closet if you have a walk-in closet. I don't have a walk-in closet. I couldn't put a trash can in there. But if you do have a walk-in closet, it is really handy to have a trash can in there.
Yes. So get a duplicate if it's really going to make your life easier. And in many cases, it's these little things that really give us a boost.
Yes.
And it makes a difference.
Yes. Well, just the pressure of remembering. I always have like a million Post-it notes. Mike, all over. And then I broke a mic one time.
Same.
We both have broken mics. See, there you go. That's how underbuyers, it's like you think you're saving money, but in the end, you're not. We both broke a mic.
Yeah.
Schlepping it back and forth. Anyway, okay. And now we have a bunch of listener responses about the one big thing they tackled. In a previous episode, we talked about how sometimes to be happier, we do the little things like buy the duplicates or clear out space. But sometimes we really need to tackle one big thing, something that could be really scary or intimidating or unpleasant or hard. But once we tackle that one big thing, then we're so happy that we have accomplished it. And we heard from a lot of listeners about the one big things that they tackled and how much happier they became.
Yes. A couple of people talked about their dissertation.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Susan said, I had to do my own research and write my dissertation with very little direction. That was my one big thing. I completed my PhD by sheer determination. I kept my eyes on the prize. One thing that helped was watching the setup for the graduation ceremony take place on campus every spring, the tent and chairs. I imagined myself in the ceremony wearing the robe with my mother, brother, and kids there.
So interesting. She's using her future self, thinking about her future self and really imagining the future. That's a great idea. And Shauna, with her dissertation, said, I was sitting at my desk procrastinating on one big thing, my dissertation, with multiple small things I had to do in process. My colleague walked in and asked when graduation was. May 5th. Okay, write that down, she said. When is the paper due in the dean's office? When are orals? When is the last chapter due? And on it went. Starting with the end in mind, I backed it up and was able to progress on time. Had it not been for Dr. Judith Halley, I'd probably still be sitting there at my little brown desk staring at the computer screen. So that's a great suggestion. Work backwards from your endpoint and just do the math. Great idea.
Yes. David said, I rehomed my dog after realizing I couldn't provide the stable environment she deserved. It was excruciating. I felt like I had failed her, but seeing her thrive with a family who had a big backyard and kids who adored her was a lesson in letting go with love. If someone is facing a similar decision, remember, sometimes the kindest thing you can do is admit you aren't the best person for the job.
Oh, what a great reminder. That's so true. Erica said, Two of your recent episodes hit home. Episode 550 about the one big thing, and episode 551 about questioning assumptions. My one big thing for over 2 decades of my life was my anxiety. I suffered from panic attacks and agoraphobia that at times were nearly debilitating and incredibly disruptive to my daily life. Instead of addressing the suffering head on, I always found ways to reshape my life to avoid the situations that gave me panic. This was just a Band-Aid, since it meant I was avoiding many experiences that would have brought me a ton of happiness. I attempted to address my anxiety in my 20s by starting therapy. However, I resisted medication as I felt like I could muscle through the problem and figure it out on my own. My assumption was simply that medicine for my mental health meant I was weak. Finally, I faced my one big thing after the birth of my eldest son. The hormones, the sleep deprivation, the toll on my body, not to mention the immense pressure of keeping a tiny human alive, sent my anxiety soaring. Whereas previously my panic attacks were specific and situational, now I was living in a 24/7 cycle of panic. At 2 weeks postpartum, I contacted my doctor to get help. I started an intensive outpatient program for postpartum mental health, but the true game changer was starting medication for my anxiety. A few weeks into taking the medication, it was like a storm cloud lifted, and I started feeling more and more normal again. I am so grateful for that experience, as it finally pushed me to take on my one big thing. My eldest son is 2.5 now, and I've continued caring for myself through weekly therapy and by staying on my anxiety medication. In that time, I have done so many things that would have terrified me in the past, but now have brought me so much joy. Traveling to different countries, interviewing for and then starting a new dream job, hosting an event for postpartum mental health, and best of all, birthing my second son. He's 2 months old now. My postpartum mental health has been so much better this time around, and I've been able to more fully enjoy my sweet boys. I know you talk about how we can learn from other people's regrets. The regret I have, which I hope others can learn from, is that I didn't start medication 20 years ago when the suffering first started. You know what they say, the best time to start an SSRI is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. At last, it took becoming a mother to finally mother myself. She questioned her assumptions. She took on the one big thing with such tremendous results. That's wonderful.
Yes, I'm so glad Erica started that medication.
Yes.
Rachel said, I took on national board certification, which is a huge undertaking for teachers. I did achieve certification and it was a huge challenge. And yes, it made me happier. I loved the rhythm, routine, and flow I found in working through the portfolio components. The advice I'd give for someone struggling to take on their one big thing is back map the thing, envision the final product, and then think through the steps to get there, break it down, write it on the calendar, get it down on paper. Big dreams in your head are just that. Big dreams written down on paper can come to fruition through action. So that's similar to our person writing the dissertation, Gretch, starting at the end.
Yeah, I like this word back map it, which is basically start at the end and then roll it backwards. That's great advice. Well, here's advice from Holly. She says, my advice is if your soul is calling you to do it, even if you have to do it scared. That's good advice.
Great advice. Laura says, I'm a clinical psychologist, and the first time I was building a research project, I told my co-investigator and mentor that the whole thing was just so daunting. Much later, when we were further on in the project, he said, you do daunting well. It was one of the best compliments I have ever received. That was probably 15 years ago, and I still think about it when I take on something big.
So this is a great example of how sometimes, not by just empty praise, but by really observing somebody's strengths and telling them like, oh, you do daunting well, that can be incredibly meaningful to someone. Sometimes just a comment that maybe you made pretty casually can make such a deep impression on someone. So I love that someone found just the right words to like really give her that encouragement.
Yes.
Marcy said, for me, writing and revising a book is like this. Each time, it seems impossible. I've always been a slow and steady wins the race kind of writer. I take it 5 o'clock a.m. writing session at a time. Over time, it really does add up. It doesn't seem like it each day, but I can see my progress if I look at it by month, by quarter, by year. Several years ago, my mantra was joy in the process, and I really do love the process.
Well, of course, our dad always says, enjoy the process.
And this is a good example of also to give yourself those ta-da moments. Don't always just focus on the to-do. Think about the ta-da. Look back and see how far you've come, because a lot of times you can get a lot of encouragement from realizing how far you have come.
Yes. Jorge said, my one big thing was deciding to leave the priesthood. 20 years in, I realized I was miserable. Walking away meant losing my community, my security, even my sense of self. But I got to build a life that finally felt like mine. I guess the advice that got me through it was to not be afraid of being a beginner again.
So again, it's this idea of do it even though you're scared.
Yeah.
Maya said, we're in the process of placing our teenage son in a residential treatment facility. He's been struggling with addiction, and his therapist says he needs more help than we can give him at home. I toured the facility next week, and I can barely breathe thinking about it. He's angry at me, saying I'm abandoning him. My husband and I cry every night, but I keep telling myself, saving his life is more important than him liking me right now. I don't know if this will make me happier, but I know I'll survive it because I have to. Well, that is really, really hard. That is a really hard one big thing. So
yes,
we're sending our best wishes.
Yes. CM said, I thought about divorce for years. We talked about it constantly. It would have been simpler, maybe even easier to walk away. Instead, my big thing was turning back toward my husband and saying, I'm in this. Let's actually fix it. We rebuilt slowly, painfully, went to couples therapy, individual therapy, etc. And in the end, we were able to get back to that place we'd forgotten existed after all these years. The happiness I have now is proof that not all endings need to be endings.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yes.
Lauren said, I had to drop out of high school 3 weeks into ninth grade due to serious illness in 1990. It wasn't until I was 30 that I began to set things right. I went to night school while working and got my GED, and then continued on to earn a master's degree with honors 10 years later. But during my final semester of grad school, I contracted hepatitis from something I ate and was hospitalized for the last several weeks of my degree. I was determined to finish what I started, and I did. Stay the course.
Jenna said, I ended a 6-year relationship. It was super hard having tough conversations, finding a new place to live, moving, establishing new rhythms. It's been a year and I'm much more comfortable, authentic, and content.
And finally, Keisha said, I pressed charges against my brother. He'd stolen our grandmother's jewelry, her life savings, things that could never be replaced. My whole family begged me not to. He's sick. He needs help, not jail. But enabling him was killing him slower. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone face the consequences of their actions. He served 8 months, got clean in prison. We write letters now. He thanked me last month. He said I saved his life by not saving him. When you love someone, sometimes you have to let them fail. Wow, that is a really, really hard thing to do. It's so wonderful to hear that it had such a good result.
Everybody has done such big things for their one big thing, Gretchen. It's inspiring.
I could read these all day long. I love hearing what people have accomplished with their one big thing.
And Gretchen, coming up, I give myself a dog-related demerit to take a left turn. But first, this break.
On this podcast, we talk about strategies and solutions for making our lives happier, healthier, more productive, and more creative. And we usually focus on topics that are within our control, habits we can make, books we can read, rituals we can try. And these suggestions have a lot to do with agency. If we have the power to try and make our situation better, even a little bit, at least we have a game plan. But some things in life are simply out of our control. Sometimes we get sick. Sometimes our body fails us or gets in our way. Sometimes, unfortunately, we don't have the resources to change our circumstances, no matter how much we may want to. What happens then? Today, we're thrilled to share some stories from IPPF, which stands for the International Planned Parenthood Federation. IPPF is the world's largest and most enduring network of national civil society organizations for reproductive health, rights, and justice. Today, you'll hear from Alice Ackerman, a young activist, educator, former social worker, and former board member of IPPF, as she shares stories from around the world. They share a simple yet powerful idea that every body holds a story. And when we can control our own bodies, we control our own stories.
What connects all human beings is our bodies. In our bodies, we can feel and see our joys, our fears, our resilience. I started to be an activist when I was 15 years old. And since then, every day when I wake up, I have only one goal: to build a world where every person can make their own choices about their bodies and their lives. In the US, I can see that women's rights are under attack, and the rights that generations fought for are being rolled back. This is not an American issue. It's happening in so many countries all over the world. And this is why we really need to come together and show solidarity and support organizations like IPPF who are fighting for all women all around the world, for them to have access to their bodily autonomy. Sexual and reproductive dignity is the foundation of a free life. It means having the power to make decisions about your body without fear, stigma, or barriers. And so how do we get there? We get there by standing up, speaking out, and refusing to compromise on our rights. It's to build the perfect world for reproductive and sexual health, where bodily autonomy is non-negotiable. IPPF created this campaign, Everybody Holds a Story, because it's a reminder that when we fight for sexual and reproductive healthcare, we are actually fighting for humanity itself. That every person deserves to live in a body that is safe, respected, and free.
This discussion makes me reflect on the fact that there's a special power in being seen and accepted by another person. Sharing stories like this helps us to see each other across differences. Despite different countries, languages, cultures, religions, everybody holds a story. Visit ippf.org/everybody to learn more. Okay, it's time for demerits and gold stars, and this is an even-numbered episode, which means, Elizabeth, it's your turn to talk about a demerit.
Yes. So, Gretchen, I am not proud of this. You know, we have 2 corgis, Nacho and Daisy, who we love. We let them out in the backyard a lot. And so there is a lot of dog poop in the backyard. And I used to be great about helping be one of the people picking it up and, you know, getting it into the trash. And I have completely just fallen off doing that for the last few months. And I'm not being a good citizen of the household.
Well, that's one of these things where maybe now that you've given yourself a demerit, that'll get you fired up to re-engage.
To get out there and do my part.
It's funny because in New York City, we don't have that yard issue. You're just on the sidewalk, so it's very automatic. But I can see how it's a very different thing if you've got a backyard.
Yes, you can let the days go by.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Gretchen, what is your gold star?
Well, I want to give you a gold star.
Oh.
And this is for advice that you took yourself, but as so often happens, it turned out to be really good advice for me too. So I'd been having this weird but pretty significant pain in my toe. And I was waiting for it to go away, and it just wasn't going away. It didn't seem like it was caused by my shoe. It was the same shoes that I'd been wearing for a long time. And it wasn't like it hurt when I put my shoe on or rubbed against the shoe. But I remembered that you had had shoe pain, which you didn't connect to your shoes. But when you went to a podiatrist, the podiatrist said, no, you need a different kind of shoe. And she recommended 3 different brands. So I thought, well, what the heck? I'm kind of due to get new running shoes anyway. And why don't I just see if by some miracle, this will solve my mysterious toe problem? And because you had told me what the brands were, it made it so much easier to go into a running store, because I tend to go into places like that and I get overwhelmed by the choices and I have decision fatigue and I find it very, very stressful. But I walked in and I knew that one of the brands you had said was Brooks, and I saw some Brooks. So I'm like, okay, I'll just try those on and get those. Those seem fine. And cut to, it worked. I don't know why those shoes all of a sudden started hurting my toe, but somehow they did. And getting a different pair of shoes had just made that pain go away. And so
Yay.
my problem got solved because of your problem. So I wanted to give you a gold star. And I guess I should give a gold star to your podiatrist because it turns out that's really good advice.
Yes. Maybe you just wore out those old shoes.
I don't know, but I don't even really care.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. Now, the resource for this week, I am so excited about this. There is a new product on the shelves. It is the Bingo book. This is because from time to time, we will offer sort of bingo. It turns everyday goals and tasks and habits into a game, whether, it's organization or preparing for the holidays or getting creative. There's a lot of categories. So anyway, all of these bingos have been gathered into a bingo book. I think it's super fun. It would make a great holiday gift, of course. But it's also, if you're a rebel, you might enjoy it because it gamifies. If you like a little bit of whimsy, I don't know. I just find the bingo format very, very pleasing. It makes it more fun to do these everyday tasks. There are more new products, and you can see them all at happiercast.com/new. I do think this one is particularly fun.
Yes. Might I add, it'd be a great prize at a game night.
Oh, it would be, yes. Particularly if you were actually playing bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. It would be a great prize. So what are we reading? Elizabeth, what are you reading?
I am reading They All Came to Barney's by Jean Pressman.
And I am reading The White Stone by Esther DeWall. And that's it for this episode of Happier. Remember to try this at home. Make space to put things away. Let us know if you tried it and if it worked for you.
Thank you to our executive producer, Chuck Reed, and everyone at Lemonada. If you haven't subscribed to Lemonada Premium yet, now is the perfect time. You can listen ad-free. Just tap that subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or go to lemonadapremium.com.
And here's your rhyming reminder. If you're a fan of the show, make sure your friends know. And that's true. Word of mouth is the best.
Until next week, I'm Elizabeth Kraft.
And I'm Gretchen Rubin. Thanks for joining us. Onward and upward.
Gretchen, speaking of onward and upward, I see you're wearing your onward and upward shirt.
I am. Yes. Good eye.
We've had that probably, 15, I guess not 15 years, but probably 8.
Yeah. Could be 10. From the Onward Project.
Famous Amos. It's a name that is synonymous with chocolate chip cookies. He's also my dad.
I'm in a supermarket, I'm in convenience stores, I'm in department stores. That's what makes Amos famous.
Wally Famous Amos. He opened the first ever chocolate chip cookie store 50 years ago. When he passed away last year, I set out to understand how he became one of the most famous black men in America.
I remember Dad on the cover of Time magazine. The headline was The Hot New Rich.
While also leaving his life and our family in chaos.
What did you think when I first told you I was thinking of doing a podcast about our family?
How much collateral damage is it going to cause?
From Vanity Fair, I'm Sarah Amos, and this is Tough Cookie, the Wally Famous Amos story. Available wherever you get your podcasts.